12 months ago, American Sean Torrente set a record-breaking time in qualifying in Portimao, going on to win the first of 3 races, propelling him to his first World Championship. Now we celebrate our 20th anniversary return to the Algarve, 7 weeks after rough seas in Saudi Arabia canceled the Grand Prix for the first time in 21 years. So can the driver from Miami repeat his performance of a year ago, or will one of 18 other pilots steal the show? It's race day, and the electricity is in the air, and it's all happening next. Today, from the spectacular, picturesque resort city of Portimao on the southern coast of Portugal, it's the second round of the 2019 UIM Formula One World Championship at the 18th Grand Prix of Portugal. Hi, everybody. I'm your host, Stephen Michael, along with my partner, multi-time world champion Jonathan Jones, and we welcome you to the edge of the Arati River as we try to reboot the start of the 36th season of Formula One powerboat racing at a venue that is well loved and has been a staple on this tour for 2 decades. Now the seaside city of Portimao and its surrounding ambiance is filled with both historic and tourist attractions that'll keep both families and adults in full holiday schedules. From our nature hikes, the world-class auto racing venues, in the interiors, to festivals and wine tasting, to surfing and a myriad of other water activities along the lovely Algarve coast. Jonathan, this area really has it all, and it shows with the hundreds of thousands of visitors that are attracted to this region year after year.
Yeah, golfing capital of Europe, no doubt about that, and some of the finest beaches that I've seen on the planet.
Summertime is the busiest time of year with its mild climate, hosting regional markets as well as many concerts, festivals, and fairs to enjoy. So whether you're 8 or 80, Portimao and the spectacular Algarve coast has it all for you. We love it here year after year in lovely Portugal. Now, yesterday's Republican, of course, we had a chance to come out. It was qualifying day at the Rebellion qualifying afternoon. It was full of surprises and drama. As with the victory team, all sorts of problems. Alex Corella and Ahmed El Hamli, the 2-time winner, crashing out before they failed to go on to Q2. And then local driver Duarte Benavente just missed the cut in 13th, while American rookie Greg Foster just made it into Q2 in his first drive. Sami Celio's dream of a 4th pole here ended when he bounced off a wave and took turn 7 out. And then the big surprise was Swedish driver Eric Stark, as he hit a rogue wave down in turn 3 after being the fastest driver in all of practice. But in the shootout, Jonas Andersson set an early pace with a 43.13, only to be bettered by defending race winner Sean Torrente, as the American did an eye-popping 42.58 going to the top and then sweating it out. As for his teammate, Thaniel Quimsey came within 8/100ths short. And then finally, it was all up to 2011 pole sitter Marit Stromoy. She came within 2 seconds slower of the lovely race as she pushed it hard, and Torrente ended up with his 3rd straight pole in Portugal and his 8th in his career with a speed of 169.09 kilometers per hour. Congratulations to Sean Torrente. Sweden's Jonas Andersson has had an uphill battle all weekend after breaking 2 engines on Friday. What is his strategy for hopefully getting a 2nd career victory here today on the Arati River?
We did break some engines yesterday in the free practice, so I was being very careful today and probably too careful, so hopefully we can find a little more speed, and also the driving is quite rusty because we have not been in the boat since Sharjah. I'm starting 4 today, but I have quite good start, so hopefully we can gain some position in the start and push from there, so anything can happen.
Well, he's very rapid. Now, Norway's Marit Stromoy came within 0.2 of a second of gathering her 2nd career pole here in Portimao. How is she planning her start, and can she beat the competition to the first pin?
Normally, Tani has a very good start, and also Jonas in 4th. So I just have to get a good start, get off the dock in a smooth and nice way, and then we see what it takes us. But for sure, starting in 3rd is a good advantage. Last year I started like 15 here, so I'm confident for the race, confident for the start.
Team Abu Dhabi driver Sean Torrente earned his 3rd straight pole in Portugal, but it hasn't been easy for the Florida driver, as he explains.
Yeah, so far everything's good. Not that it's been easy. It's been really tough. We got a target on our back, and we know that. So we're working really hard and trying to stay focused. And race today, we're starting 1-2, which is great. But I have the best starter in the world next to me, Thaniel Quimsey, my teammate. As long as there's 2 Abu Dhabi boats coming down the front stretch in 1st and 2nd, we're in good shape.
Well, drivers from around the world in 3 different continents, including 4 previous winners, are here today for the 18th running of the Grand Prix. Let's take a look at how they'll line up today. Sean Torrente, the world champion, looking for his 3rd win in a row, as he would just love to come up with a victory here in Portugal. And Daniel Quimsey, starting number 2nd, of course. And then, of course, Marit Stromoy in 3rd. Jonas Andersen expected to be sharp. Eric Stark disappointed down in that 7th position after running strong early on during the practice session. And Francesco Catando in his 18th start here. Sami Celio disappointed. Local driver down in the 13th spot. We'll keep an eye on him. Duarte Benavente, 4-time world champion Alex Carell in the 14th spot. And finally, the rookie Alberto Camerado bringing up the rear in that 19th position. So as we get set for more action. Now, Jonathan, when you get a chance to think about the Arati River, it's truly all about the winds and the tides as it ebbs and flows to the sea. It's truly a driver's circuit that you must focus in on 100% of the time if you want to win.
Absolutely. I mean, this is a tough one. 7 turn, boys. We got 1 right hand and 6 left-handers there. It is going to be rough because the wind is definitely picking up, Steve. The tide against wind is going to create waves, so it's going to be a tough one this afternoon. But it's one of those circuits. If you've got the aggression, you can get out there, you can overtake, and I think this is going to be one of the best Grand Prix that we've had of the season.
Well, as we anticipate the start of this 48-lap Odyssey, in eager anticipation of this epic event for each driver now. It's the time that every driver sits back and thinks about the job at hand, and it comes all down to this, as they're going to race down 600 meters into that first start pontoon as they'll race away from the dock, Le Mans style. They will break away from the dock, and the first one down to the far pin that's on the north side of this course. Now, this wind situation, which has really been a situation all weekend long, blowing out of the north for the last 3 days. Well, yesterday in qualifying it was out of the north, but today it's changed directions almost 180 degrees. It's coming out of the southwest. And talking with Sean Torrente, he had mentioned to me that, yes, it's going to be really tough down the front straightaway. The boat's crabbing. This is like a banana-shaped course. It's not much of a time period when you're running these 1.9 kilometer laps where you're actually going straight. A lot of it is turning, and I'll tell you something, the slower traffic today will be playing a factor as the lead boats come through and try to lap the competition. This will be an epic race, and what a great way to kick off the European season here in Portimao. This is the start of our 3rd decade here along the Algarve coast. And as we start to anticipate the start, we get very close. We hold our breath. We wait to see the lights coming on. As we hold our breath now, all eyes glued on the official lights across the way from the Arati River. Seconds before the start, as we wait for the lights to come on. There you see the 30-second board coming up. As the tension continues to build here, as 19 drivers from 9 different nations ready to go toe-to-toe for 48 laps around this 1.9 kilometer race circuit. 30-second board comes down anytime now. First row lights, second row lights. They explode away from the dock, and they're away. And as they fight off, they go down to 600 meters straight away. It's a drag race heading down across onto the north side of this race circuit, side by side. Daniel Quimsey, known as one of the best starters in the world. He's got Sean Torrente off to his left. Let's hold our breath as they pinch through the first turn into the second. And Torrente gets clear of Daniel Quimsey and chasing down from the back in 3rd position. It looks like it's one of the French team drivers coming up on the CTIC China boat. That could be Philippe Shep trying to push up in 3rd with Jonas Andersen right there. But 1st and 2nd is Sean Torrente, Daniel Quimsey. Jonas Andersen has moved past Marit Stromoy, and right behind him there is Philippe Shep.
Yeah, a lot of mayhem going on there in the middle of the field, but at the moment, Sean Torrente showing everybody a clean set of heels as he goes down the back straight round the right-hander, Daniel Quimsey doesn't seem to have an answer, but a blinding start from Jonas Andersen, hanging on in 3rd there as Marit Stromoy tries to take him on the inside.
Great shot from our dome camera as we come up here. The drone's showing you exactly all the different lanes. The drivers are trying to find clear water. You don't want to stay right behind the driver. You want to slide off because you don't want the aeration to slow you down with the propeller, and Torrente comes by. The first tour has finished with 47 laps to go, and the American trying to win his 2nd straight race here in Portimao. Jonathan, this is the 3rd straight year Sean Torrente has led lap number 1.
Yeah, driving fantastically well. I mean, they've been well prepared for this circuit. They've done a lot of testing out in Abu Dhabi. They've emulated this circuit as we go on board there with with Marit Stromoy. Slipped back a little bit. She's in 4th, still hanging in there with Jonas Andersen just ahead of her, and she is starting to push. Steve, you can see Jonas just probably about 200 or 300 meters just ahead of her, but at the moment she's starting to put the hammer down.
All right, as we watch them slide their way around the course, there you can see him pinching into the corner. Very, very close as they came out of turn number 6, heading for turn number 7. As we take a look, there's Torrente out in front now through the mist and the haze. You see the battle that's going on for that 3rd place position.
Yes, Stromoy too wide down that far end of the circuit there. Philippe Chiappe was just behind her, saw there was a gap. He went for it, and he's just got ahead of her.
All right, as we take a look into the standings at this point, Francesco Catando has moved himself up a couple of spots. He's moved from 8th up to 6th. Stromoy has dropped from 3rd down to 5th. Philippe Chiappe sitting in that 5th place where he qualified. He's moved up 1 spot. He's now in the 4th position.
Bit of a mistake there, as I said, for Stromoy. On board with her there just a few moments ago, and again she left that gap there, and Chiappe was so close behind her. He took advantage, but back to the front there. Sean Torrente with the number 1 boat, current world champion, running for the Abu Dhabi team. They're running 1st and 2nd at the moment, and Torrente with a clear water ahead of him for probably the next 5 or 6 laps. Seems to be slowly but surely pulling away from his teammate Thandi Al-Quamsi.
All right, as we look at Peter Morin, the French driver who last year outdid his teammate, came up and finished 4th overall in the championship with 54 points. Right up there. By the way, Jonathan, how are the rookies doing? Well, how about Alberto Camerado started in 19th? He's all the way up into 11th spot. Where you look at Greg Foster. Foster was started back down in about that 15th position, and that's where he's sitting right now.
Yeah, and you could see the yellow boat there of Francesco Catando. This is the new Blaze boat that they've been working on over the winter, and it really is coming onto its own now, starting to put a bit of pressure on Marit Stromoy in 5th position. Catando is definitely going to be making a move in the next lap or 2.
Yeah, now he's jumped up 2 spots from where he took off as we take a look at Catando, and you can see right there Peter Morin pushing as hard as he can. Now he's a French long-time driver in endurance racing. This is only his 2nd, making his 3rd year now running in Formula 1, and he's getting stronger and stronger as he's starting to have more and more races, and for him, this is only his 14th start of his career.
Yes, Stromoy now starting to put a little bit of pressure. Oh, she's lost some ground there again, going wide. Philippe Chiappe seems to have the legs on her at the moment as we go back on with Stromoy again, and you can see there Catando on the outside, one of the back markers. I beg your pardon, that's Greg Foster, the American driver that's just started racing with us this year, and I have to say been putting on a blinding pace in practice, and he's probably just going to work his way gently into the championship this year. Stromoy going through, and right behind Stromoy now we have Peter Morin, teammate to Philippe Chiappe, who at the moment, and Chiappe is in 4th.
It's not his first year of racing. He started in 1974, Jonathan, but his first in Formula 1, and he is in that 15th spot. And we had a chance to see Peter Morin just a minute ago on board, and Catando now dropping back quickly. There's a problem for the veteran from Italy as Francesco Catando's going backwards. Oh no, he's slowing down and he's heading for the pontoon. What a shame for the 23-year veteran as he was hoping for his 15th career victory. He will not get it this afternoon, and what a shame for the driver from Milan, Italy, dropping out. He finished 11th last year in the championship. This is not a great way to start, Jonathan.
No, that's a really unfortunate for him, because I had high hopes for Catando. He was in free practice just an hour before the race. He was up in 3rd or 4th position and doing a great job. You could see there Stromoy a little bit wide on the outside. Chiappe was just behind her, Steve. He saw that opening, went for it, and you can see there he just pulled ahead of her, so she's lost the slot there.
Well, the wily veteran from France who is coming here looking for his first victory in Portugal. He's got a total of 9 wins, and he's got 3 world championships. As you look at the leader, Sean Torrente out in front as he comes whistling by Thandi Al-Quamsi. Right now it's a 1-2 for Team Abu Dhabi. The difference between 1st and 2nd is 2.94 seconds. As you look at Philippe Chiappe down in 4th place, he's 8 seconds behind the leader, but he's only about a second and a half from Jonas Andersen. So let's see if the veteran Frenchman continues to put some pressure on Jonas Andersson for that third and final spot on the podium.
Yeah, there's a ding-dong battle going on there for third, fourth, fifth, and sixth. There's hardly anything between them, so watch out for them in the next couple of laps. We could see a few changes. Jonas Andersson there now. Philippe Chap definitely closing the door on him, Steve. Jonas taking a tighter line. Philippe having to go on the outside there, and Marit Stromae coming in strong behind them.
There you see Jonas Andersson as we pan out on the two and the battling pair. Now remember, Jonas Andersson struggled early in the weekend. He blew up, or he broke two engines on Friday, and then all of a sudden he got his act together, had a great qualifying effort. But right now, Jonas Andersson, as he tries to lap and work his way around the rookie Branger Robard, the driver from France.
Yeah, he was telling me just before this race that he just felt that because they had this problem with two engines in free practice on Friday, that he was a little reluctant, Steve, to let that engine sort of, get the maximum horsepower out of it. So they've got a very, very conservative setup. They've got a lot of fuel going into that engine to keep it cool because they couldn't find the issue, and that is definitely hindering him a little bit. I think he would have been further up in the field and probably qualified better had he been able to really wind the engine up in that final shootout.
Reliability for Jonas Andersson is the key today. If he can finish, he'll finish well. So let's find out if he can take it all the way to 48 laps. We got 9 in the record books out of the 48 scheduled this afternoon. Steve Michael and, of course, Jonathan Jones alongside in our 19th year together. We're glad you're with us, enjoying the second round of this championship. The first race of 2019 for points. And there you see Eric Eden, the driver, who's down in that 10th spot. Eric yesterday qualified 10th, so he has not moved down. He hasn't moved up. He's mired in that top 10 right now in that 10th spot. And he ran a lot this morning in morning warm-up. He put a lot of laps on that boat.
Yeah, look at the battle going on between Eden there and Ahmed Al-Hamli in the victory. Boat victory have been having one or two handling problems this weekend. They couldn't quite seem to get the boat styled in. When the conditions are really calm, the boats are devastatingly fast. But when it gets rough, they've really had a bit of a problem trying to get that balance of the boat. And by that, I mean the boat being able to handle in rough conditions. And it's showing at the moment with Al-Hamli down in 9th position and Alex Carella even down in 12th at the moment. So that's not a good result for the victory team so far. As we go back to Jonas Andersson keeping that gap nicely just ahead of Chiap, Steve.
Just 20% already of the race in the record book so far, and we are watching the Frenchman right here as Philippe Chap doing his best to try to get back up and chase down Jonas Andersson in the 3rd spot. Marit Stromae down in that 5th spot after starting in the 3rd position. And Eric Stark, by the way, for you Eric Stark fans, he started 7th and he's sitting in 7th at the moment.
Yeah, doing a great job as we went back there with Philippe Desertan. He's the team manager of CTIC Team China, and he's egging on his driver there, Philippe Chiap, who's doing a great job. You can see Chiap there just behind Jonas. If Jonas makes a slip, Steve, he's going to take advantage and get through.
It's not all about speed on this record course. It's also about passing back markers. Very busy on this race circuit, trying to wheedle your way through some of the slower traffic, and at the same time, Torrente did a good job. He was able to expand his lead between he and Thaniel Quimsey, his teammate, from 2.9 seconds up to 4.9 seconds. So he gained 2 seconds as he worked his way through traffic the last time around.
Yeah. You can just see there now, as they come out of shot, you've got Torrente there, that #1 boat, current world champion, seems to be siding through these back markers without any problem at all. That DAC boat has got some really good acceleration off these turns as we go on board with Torrente. You can see that on the dash there, Steve. It's giving him an enormous amount of information where he is in relation to the other driver. And just look how he gets thrown around as he tears down that back straight, comes into one of the far turn boys over there, pulling about 6.5 lateral G's as he throws it into the turn at over 100 miles an hour.
Yeah, what's the G? Well, it's your body weight, so you're feeling that effect 6.5 times, and it's not a nice, calm, cool drive, man. You're getting tossed around. The physicality is unbelievable as we go back on with Peter Morin, the driver out of France, driving for the CTICF Shenzhen China team as he works his way up through. Remember, he finished 4th in the championship a year ago. He is really good. He's closing again in on Marit Stromoy. The battle is less than 2 seconds. You can see him, and she's only about 8 boat lengths ahead of him at this moment. Can she get reeled in by the Frenchman? We'll find out here shortly.
It's pretty close, but I think in that last half lap, she just seemed to pull a second or so on him. You can see Stromoy there coming through the right-hander. Philippe Moran there, just behind her. Doesn't seem to have an answer at the moment, but you know, as this race progresses and these boats get lighter, the handling characteristics of the boats do change. They start this Grand Prix, they run what we call a green fuel. It's a very clean running fuel, so it doesn't harm the atmosphere, and they start off with about 120 litres of fuel. But once they get down halfway through this race, some of these boats, because they've got so much lift, because they accelerate so well, they become very difficult to drive as this race goes ahead. And at the moment, Stromoy there really driving a beautiful race. As unfortunately on the start, she dropped just 1 place to Jonas Andersen, and doesn't seem to have an answer for him at the moment, as Jonas sticks in that 3rd. He's on the podium at the moment, doing a great job.
All right, as we watch the traffic come through, there you get a chance to see the workable, lovely paddock that we've got. You look down, you can see the timing and scoring where all the race directors are and the team managers directing and talking to the drivers through their headsets, letting them know where they are, and actually being spotters at the same time, sometimes saying go inside, go outside, as you get a chance to look at Philippe Schepp, who we've been focusing in on as the Frenchman who is a 3-time world champion. There's Sean Torrente, back to our leader once again. And the interesting thing is Torrente now, oh my, Jonas Andersen almost blew the boat over. Wow. Jonathan away from the camera. Somehow he saved it. He felt the pressure. He was teetering on the edge of disaster and somehow brought the boat back down. That was frightening.
Yeah, and that allowed Chiap just to close a little bit, but Jonas has gathered it all back together again now, Steve. You can see taking a very tight line on the far side of the circuit, on the bridge end. Chiap again having to go around the outside. He's having all this dirty water, the spray on his screen, and probably finding it quite difficult as Jonas almost loses it. Oh, my goodness, Steve, you picked that up really well on the lap before.
Unbelievable how he saved it, but for Jonas Andersen, as you see him go flying along, an unintentional becoming a pilot. He almost took the boat off like an airplane, but he's in his 14th season. And for Jonas Andersen, this is race number 94 in the record books for him. And for him, hey, he'll solve the problem. He just dropped the flaps down and landed and kept on going.
Yeah, that probably would give him a bit of a wake-up call, you know. He now knows how far he can push that boat before it will actually overturn. But as we stand at the moment, picking up Marit Stromoy, Peter Moran again trying to get on the inside. Problem you have, Steve, is when you take a tight corner on the inside, the boat, the sponsons of the boat that is running on, they get very, very wet and they create drag. So although you think that's the best line to get tight and get on the inside, it scrubs off a lot of speed as we go on board again. Peter Moran there, not so far behind Marit. Oh, having to switch to the inside. You can see, can hardly see anything as he straightens up again for the next turn, but Marit has got through there nice and clean.
Just shows you, Jonathan, how difficult the visibility is, and sometimes, yes, there are a few boats in this paddock that use windshield wipers, mainly when it's getting foggy inside. But yeah, you can see that the speeds are well up to 225 Ks, Jonathan. Tell you what, this race course may be short, and it may be shaped like a banana where you're constantly crabbing the boat down the front straightaway, but we are seeing tremendous pace by all these drivers today.
Yeah, great driving at the moment by Marit
No.
Stromoy. She's in.
What a
And
shame.
we got
Greg
Foster. Oh,
Foster
what a shame,
going
Steve.
out. What a shame for the American. That makes both boats of the Blaze team gone. His teammate went out a little earlier as the veteran driver who dropped out of this race, Francesco Catando, and now the rookie Greg Foster. He has come to a complete stop here on this race course. So both of the Blaze performance boats out of the race here in Portugal this weekend.
Yeah, Thaniel comes, he's slowly but surely closing that gap, Steve. I noticed that about 3 or 4 laps before this, Torrente was 6.45. Tani closed the gap by 3 seconds, so probably starting to put a bit of pressure on him now. He knows if he's going to win this championship, we're about at halfway point, he's really going to have to start pushing.
As you get a chance to see, coming back in, and it's Alex Corella. Oh no, what a shame for the 4-time world champion. Corella is pulling in and has given up this race here with 19 laps here in this race so far.
Yeah, well, Corella, he just seemed to be languishing down there in 15th, 16th position. Didn't seem to be able to get that boat to set up. Could be, Steve, that they may have a hole in the boat.
Yeah,
it seems
exactly.
to be leaning to one side, and that is a oh yes, I could just see the front of the sponson had delaminated, so obviously a bit of an issue there, and has unfortunately put him out of this race.
Definitely listing, and now side by side, here's Marit Stromoy going with Peter Moran. Peter Moran trying to take the position away. He set the fast lap, and somehow you could see that he was able to hold off the charge, but Peter Moran set the fast time of this race so far, the fastest lap with a 46.89. He is flying. He almost got himself past the Norwegian woman driver who had the pole here in 2011, just missed, but he's going to try it one more time. You better believe it here in the next lap or two.
Yeah, and they're coming up against Philippe Giap, because the pace of these two drivers, they're pushing each other on so far at the moment that they're slowly but surely closing up. But brilliant driving there by Marit Stromoy. Marit on the inside the lap before, Moran on the outside. Moran just a little bit ahead of her, but she was having nothing of it. Came into the corner, did a blinding turn, accelerated out, and now he's really starting to put that pressure on her again, Steve.
Peter Moran now off the screen. There's see Marit Stromoy in her 80th career start. She's 0 for 20, and for her, she has finished 7th a year ago. As she continues to fight, she was 6th in the championship with 35 points. Marit Stromoy, she's had 2 straight top 5s and 5 straight top 10 since crashing out in Portimao last year. Remember, she only lasted the first lap a year ago as she and Jonas Andersson got together.
Steve, she's definitely closing on Philippe Giap. The gap was about 4 seconds. That gap now is down to just over 2 seconds. So that battle is really pushing those two boats ahead and trying to get them up to the next two as we come through. You can see the gap there now between Tarente, lead boat, Daniel Quamsi, the second boat. Doesn't seem to have an answer for him at the moment, does he?
They're in perfect flying formation, Team Abu Dhabi, as they work their way through. 2 seconds, less than that now between the two. 1.78 seconds, and the pace being set last time around. Tarente outdueled his teammate by 1.2 seconds, so he got some time back on Thani the last lap around.
Well, 4 laps ago it was 6 seconds, then he came down to 3.4, now it's 1.78. Is Thani going to push as hard as he can as he comes on the outside of him there, Steve? Not a little to choose between these two boats as Tarente just ahead of him. Thani's starting to put the hammer down.
It's all about the traffic, Jonathan, and that's what's going on here through this race. As Thani's trying to close the gap, he's getting closer and closer, now pushing the driver from Miami, getting closer, now less than 10 boat lengths between first and second. Is there a possibility of a problem for our leader? And will his teammate Daniel Quimsey jump on him like a jackal to take away that #1 position? We'll have to play this out here as first and second place right now needs our attention as these two boats are almost glued together as Daniel Quimsey can smell the exhaust fumes coming off the back end of Sean Tarente's boat.
And certainly Peter Moran can smell the exhaust fumes of Marit Stromoy as they battle ding-dong there for that 5th and 6th position. He's trying everything. He's trying to take the inside line, the outside line, and as you could see there, almost lost control of the boat there as he hooked round the corner. You can see there, Steve, as we go on with Moran in front of him on the in front of the screen there. He's got a level meter. That depicts where the actual engine is trimmed on the back of the boat. The red area means that the engine is out and it's accelerating very, very quickly, and the white area means that the engine is tucked in. And such a ding-dong battle there, as you can see Giap going through Marit behind him, and again Moran having a bit of a difficult corner there as he tries to close on her.
The difference between 3rd and 6th right now in this battle for those 4 boats for the last position on the podium is only 2.5 seconds. So you can see it's literally, as they work their way back and forth, they're sliding back and forth. It's like an accordion. Somebody closes up, somebody backs off, and here pitching to the inside on that replay. You can see the drag race coming off the right-hander down at turn number 4. And as they fought their way around, and Marit Stromoy was able to hold off Peter Moran. as they were making their way around the back marker, Barrage Robert down in the 16th spot. And look at Peter Moran almost losing it, Jonathan. He almost blew it over as he lost grip on the front end of the boat, and he was trying to fight the trim to bring the boat back down into the water.
But great composure there by our young lady driver, Marit Stromoy. She just kept everything under control. She knew he was on the outside. I'm sure that the crew chief on the radio was saying, just keep that tight inside line. Don't veer out anywhere. He's right on your tail, and she did a great job and is now pulling away from him again.
Just one lap past the halfway point now as they come circling through here down the front straightaway. And you can see almost how the shape of this race course really dictates the way the drivers are running. As we get a chance to look back on our driver here, Duarte Benavente, the local driver for Benavente. He started down in that 13th position, has not made a move. He's really struggling here. No, he's moved back up into that 13th spot. He had dropped down to 14th, but now he's sitting where he was when he qualified, and he'd love to get up into the top 10. He's had 2 podiums here in the past in his history. He'd like to make it 3.
Yeah, and things just don't seem to be going that well for him at the moment. I mean, he looked pretty strong out there yesterday, but during the race today, he just seems to have lost a little bit of pace, maybe some kind of problem with the boat or whatever.
Yeah, he's a true veteran, 142 starts, and he's like the 3rd longest veteran that's ever raced in the UIM Formula One World Championship Series. We go back to our leader. There's Sean Torrente out of Miami, Florida, the defending world champion and the defending race champion here, as he gathered up the #1 spot yesterday in qualifying. Didn't set the record yesterday, Jonathan. He was 0.8 of a second away on his record from that 41.6, and there's a problem with a shame. Oh no, Philippe Shep is slowing down the pressure from that 4th place position. And Philippe Shep, the veteran 3-time world champion, has got obviously a problem with his setup, and he is pulling off the course ever so slowly. What a shame for the man who finished 5th in this championship a year ago. He's gone 9 races now without a victory. Last year, Jonathan, he qualified 5th like he did today. He finished on the podium in 2018. It will not happen this afternoon.
No, he was dogged by technical problems last year, Steve, wasn't he? And they just couldn't seem to find out what the problems were. And let's hope that he's not going to have another season like that, because it's so disheartening when you put time in. And, over the whole weekend, everything's been running like clockwork for them. But damn, come the race when it really matters. Unfortunately, he's out again for another Grand Prix.
Great aerial shot that we just momentarily had. You were looking north as the Arade River here. Here last year, we raced late in the evening. You've got to dictate the tides as you take a look at Thaniel Quimsey, the driver who is starting his 134th event. And he's been racing. It's hard to believe, Jonathan, this is his 18th season for Thaniel Quimsey. A couple of times second in the championship. He's never been a championship winner. He's got 8 victories and 36 podiums in those 133 starts leading into it. But the 40-year-old who has gone 1 for 2 after going 29 races back in Sharjah in 2012 when he picked up a victory here last year on the tour for Thaniel Quimsey when he won in Abu Dhabi and became the first Emirate driver to win in Abu Dhabi.
Yeah, it seems to be even Stevens now between Torrente leading this Grand Prix and Thaniel Quimsey there in second. And I asked myself with what do we have? 18 laps to go. They've got such an advantage. Well, I say such a big advantage to Jonas Andersen in 3rd place. It's not that big, but it's still 3.5 seconds. And are they just going to be in formation, carrying some good speed, but not taking any chances? Or is the team manager, Guido Capellini, allowing these guys to push as hard as they can to the end of the race to determine who is going to be the winner?
All right, well, a driver who has really been pushing his way up and started all the way in the last spot. There he is, the rookie, who only got in 1 lap yesterday in qualifying. And there you see the youngster who is the defending Formula 2 world champion in his very first race, running for Rookie of the Year, Alberto Colorado, a 2nd-generation driver from just outside of Venice, 21 years young. And, of course, his father, Fabio, who won in Malaysia back more than a decade ago, has kind of helped his son along, but he's done a great job this afternoon, Jonathan. after considering he only got in one lap yesterday and didn't have a shot at any kind of qualifying. He started dead last and has moved himself up 10 positions.
And especially so when you look that he's, he's ahead of world champion Sami Celio, who's won the championship many times in the past. So, you've got to give this young driver a lot of credit. And I'm sure that his father said to him, just take your time. It's the first Grand Prix. He's the youngest driver that we've got out here. So I think the future is looking very, very rosy for Alberto Camerado. And I've been watching them over the weekend, he and his father, the body language between the two of them as they talk to each other about the setup of the boat, choosing the right engine and boat and everything. It's been great.
All right, something to look at, Jonathan. On the move, Eric Stark has slid himself up 2 spots. He has worked his way past Peter Morin, and now Stark, who qualified in that 7th spot, is now into the top 5. And he is pushing as hard as he can. He's still 5 seconds away from Maurice Stromoy, and Stromoy is about 2 seconds away from Jonas Andersen as they fight for this final podium spot. Oh no, what a shame. Philip Rams has dropped out of the race, and the youngest driver in the history of this sport ever to start a race. Philip Rams, in his 8th season, the 25-year-old who finished tied for 12th in the championship a year ago, has ended his day. And not a great weekend for him. He started down in 16th position.
Marit Stromoy certainly has not given up the ghost, Steve. You've just got the shot of her there. Jonas Andersen just ahead, as you can see. The Moran driver there from France with the CTIC China, pushing air as hard as he can to try and close that gap. They're in the same shot now, Steve. You can see Jonas Andersen on the outside, Marie Stromoy coming really strong on the inside, having to go to the outside as Jonas takes a tight line.
2 Scandinavians fighting their way through, a Norwegian woman, a Swedish man driver. There he is, Jonas Andersen. There was a many-time Formula 2 champion for Jonas Andersen. Him a year ago, if you remember, in 2018, he finished 7th in the championship with 29 points on the year. This is his 14th season of racing, and he has 5 victories. He's gone 13 races without another win.
Yeah, and I can tell you now that Marit Stromoy is definitely not going to give in. You can see there that those 2 boats are slowly but surely closing up to the front 2 boats of Thani Alquamsi and the and almost loses control there. Who is that, Steve?
Eric
One
Stark,
of the back markers.
Eric Stark, who had a real problem yesterday going into turn number 3 on the south side of the race. So as they come by, and here's the pass by Peter Morin working his way, trying to get around Eric Stark. So Stark has dropped back a position as Peter Morin has fought his way past, ill-handling Eric Stark at that point.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think the problem he's got is a power trim problem, because just before the race today, they were frantically working on the back of that boat. They changed the pump, they put it back on the water, then it was working, and then it was not working. And it looks to me like Stark was making incredible progress there as he's sized his way through the field. Unfortunately, looks to be having the same problem again.
Yeah, and out of the picture, there's Sami Celio. He's in a ding-dong battle with the rookie Alberto Colorado. They're almost side by side there a minute ago. There's Alberto. You can see him working his way. There's Colorado with Sami Celio trying to challenge. Now Duarte Benavente trying to move up. He is trying to take away 10th position.
And at the moment, Steve, between 1st and 2nd, it looks as though Thani Alquamsi is slowly but surely starting to close up on Sean Torrente, the lead boat, Steve.
All right, with 12 laps to go, Thani Alquamsi sliding back and forth, going to the outside, then to the inside, trying to find clear water as they define what's the quicker line through that right-hander turn number 4. Jonathan, you've been in this position before many, many times. I'll tell you what, with 12 laps to go, you can almost feel the excitement continuing to build, and you think maybe Thani's got a shot at passing the Florida driver.
Well, from what we saw there, it looks like he certainly is closing up as we go back on with Benavente. Doing a sterling job at the moment, pushing as hard as he can. And Steve, it looks like Benavente certainly has the legs on Sami Celio and could be making a move in the next lap or 2.
Yeah, Benavente going after you. We talk about the windshield wiper. There you see it on Camperado's boat as he's sitting there in that 9th place position with Benavente trying to reel in the 2-time world champion Sami Celio, and Celio's trying to get around the rookie. So we've got a big sandwich of 3 boats fighting tooth and nail down with just 11 laps to go. And it was all about trying to get a championship point or two to start off the season. And that's tremendous fighting for 3 different boats down in that mid-range here of this race this afternoon.
Well, let's hope I was wrong when I said that these 2 front boats are running in formation, because Sean Torrente has just been able to pull a little bit of a lead again on Thani Al-Quamsi, the Abu Dhabi driver there. And boy, the lap before, I don't know exactly what happened, but Thani closed right up to him. He was probably about a half a second behind him as he starts to move again and try to push as hard as he can. But he has to start pushing soon, because Jonas Andersen is definitely closing that gap between Thani and Sean Torrente that are leading this. He's leading this event.
Less than 10 laps to go in this race as we watch the battling pair up front. It's going to be very, very difficult, Jonathan, for Thani Al-Quamsi to figure out the formula to get around Sean Torrente. He's one of the toughest drivers to make your way around on this tour anywhere in the world, unless he has a mechanical. And as we look back, you can see there's the second place, there's the third place driver right there, Jonas Andersen, to the right of your screen. He's getting closer and closer to Thani Al-Quamsi. He wants to play in the game now for number 1. He's just 3 seconds behind Sean Torrente. So Jonas Andersen starting to reel in the flying twosome of Team Abu Dhabi, with Sean Torrente leading and Thani Al-Quamsi in second. And now with less than 9 laps to run in this race.
Yeah, you can see Marit Stromoy there again, taking a line on the outside. Jonas coming through. Marit against the back marker there, doesn't seem to be able to get through. But back to the lead again. You can see the Thani there on the outside trying to get some clear water.
Here's Peter Moran working his way around. Marit Stromoy side by side, and he cuts her off on the inside lane. Then it's a drag race down, heading off toward the right-hander. You can see Peter Moran, and look at, oh my, Marit Stromoy almost lost it, Jonathan. She lost the air and was able to settle the boat back down. She almost blew over.
Let's hope she herself has not got a trim problem, because that was very unlike Marie to make a mistake like that. The boat seemed to be absolutely out of control there, so fingers crossed she doesn't have the same problem that Stark appeared to have earlier on. But he's back in there now, and hopefully he's going to be able to make up some ground. Again, that battle between Torrente and Al-Quamsi, 1.99 seconds. Doesn't seem to be able to close the gap anymore, Steve.
Now less than 8 laps to go in this event, and as they work their way through here, this is the 20th year that we've been coming here to Portimao, since 1999, and this is the 18th Grand Prix of Portugal, and we're glad you're with us today. Stephen Michael, your host, Jonathan Jones alongside as we go to race number 2 of 2019. Don't forget to join us in about 7 weeks' time as we head off to France as we get set for a lovely trip to Evian on Lac Le Mans. It'll be round number 3 of the championship. Back to Jonas Andersen. He is 3.76 seconds back of Torrente, and he's only 2.5 seconds behind second place Thani Al-Quamsi. So Al-Quamsi's feeling the accordion effect from behind. There's Peter Moran, who is in the 4th position now, and he's less than a second behind Jonas Andersen, and Marit Stromoy is about 1.5 seconds back. So 1st, 2nd, 3rd to 5th. The difference is less than 6 seconds, Jonathan. It's really tightening up here as we get into these final 6 laps.
Steve, the positions are they're definitely not over yet. I'm watching Marit Stromoy there on the far end of the circuit. She's now starting to put the pressure on Peter Moran. Peter Moran now losing a little bit of space between himself and Jonas Andersen in that 3rd position.
Jonas Andersen now getting word from his wife, who is working with him on the headset, telling him exactly where he is. He is pulled away just a little bit now. He gained about a half a second that time around on 4th place, Peter Moran, with Marit Stromoy nipping at his heels right behind.
Here we go, the first 2 boats there in line, almost side by side as Thani Al-Quamsi tries to get that clear water so he can see exactly where he's going on the outside of Sean Torrente. And a great drive here by Jonas Andersen, who was telling us before the race he was going to run a conservative race, go for a bag of points. But boy, he's on the podium at the moment. Everything is looking very, very good for him, and he certainly hasn't given up getting a second slot here, as we see Tani on the outside and Jonas there taking a tighter line on the inside. Is he going to be able to get him over the next lap, Steve? Tani closes the door on him. Again, you see Torrente on the outside, Tani on the outside again, and Torrente, he's starting to close up, Steve.
As we watch the battling pair down the front straightaway. Torrente on the inside. Thaniel Quimsey on the outside. Getting closer. Now the side-by-side battle. Could there be a problem with Torrente with 4 laps left to go?
I don't think there is a problem. I think Thani has said, if I'm going to do it, I've really got to put the hammer down now over the next lap or two. He knows there's only 4 laps to go. Again, Torrente taking a tight line. Thani Alquamsi on the inside. Boy, this is a ding-dong battle. It's the closest we've seen these drivers pushing as hard as they can at the moment for some races, Steve.
Thaniel Quimsey, last time around, gained about 0.4 of a second on the leader, Sean Torrente, as we watch the driver from Florida trying to seal the deal here this afternoon. But boy, is he feeling pressure from his teammate as they are fighting tooth and nail here. You can see the difference between the two. Less than 0.4 of a second, and there is Mr. Cremona, who's on the headsets with the leader, Sean Torrente.
Yeah, Tani losing a little bit of ground there. The boat got a little bit out of control on the long straight going down towards the bridge end, and he lost a second or so, and that's given Torrente a little bit of breathing space.
Well, Ahmed Al-Hamli, the driver from the victory team, who is right in front of Sean Torrente down in 7th place, will he become a factor in all of this? You know, he's running pretty strong laps right now himself as he's throwing down the gauntlet. He's not much slower as he continues to go through as they fight their way back. And as you can see, the leader right there. Can they get around Ahmed Al-Hamli for Sean Torrente?
Now, the other thing is, Ahmed Al-Hamli, and although he's running for a different team to Thani Al-Quamsi, they are the biggest of friends, both Abu Dhabi drivers. And is he going to allow Torrente through so that the battle maybe gets a little bit closer between Torrente and Thani Al-Quamsi, who certainly hasn't given up with 2 to go?
Less than 2 laps in the record books to run right now as we take a look. As you can see, the Frenchman being lapped one more time, the rookie, Roger Robert, and that number 70 machine. As we take a look at the fight here that goes on in this top 5. It's a good battle here, sliding through. There is Thaniel Quimsey. In front of him is Sean Torrente. As we come down to the final moments of this race, as the 2 Team Abu Dhabi boats coming up, rocketing down the front straightaway, as they come whistling by one more time, as Torrente gets closer and closer to Ahmed Al-Hamli, as Thaniel Quimsey, they're cousins, by the way. And will one cousin help out the other cousin? Let's see how it all plays out here with less than 2 laps to go, Jonathan.
47 and 48 laps now, Steve. And it looks to me like Torrente is maybe slowing down a little bit. He certainly can't overtake that back marker.
All right, here on this very last final lap, you see Sean Torrente working his way down onto the north side of this race course. Torrente hoping to pick up the victory as Team Abu Dhabi looking to come home this afternoon. 1-2. Will it be Torrente or Al Quimsey as it come across the line? It's Sean Torrente, your winner, as he picks up the victory to start off 2019 Team Abu Dhabi. 1-2 as Sean Torrente from Florida wins the race for the 2nd straight year here in Portugal. And the team finishes 1-2, and you can see how excited team manager Guido Capellini, 10-time world champion, and Jonas Andersson holds off the charge of the Frenchman Peter Morin, who is 1 second behind, and he'll take that 3rd place position. Peter Morin 4th, and Maurice Stromoy a well-earned 5th place. What an ending to this race. The accordion was going back and forth. The difference between 1st and 5th was only 5.8 seconds.
Yeah, that was a great race, and we've not seen such close racing as that now for quite some time. And if the rest of the year, if this is a guide to what's going to happen for the rest of the year, it's going to be fantastic. But all credit to Sean there. He kept his head, and he got through the back markers very well and just kept ahead of Thani. But a blinding drive from Thani Al-Quamsi, the Abu Dhabi driver there, who really pushed so hard right right up to the end. And in fact, with 2 laps to go, you could see they came out of that bottom turn and they were side by side, and Sean just about kept ahead of him as they shot down the straight there. Great drive by Jonas Anderson in third. I mean, like you say, 3.22 seconds behind Thani at the end of the race. And yeah, that's a solid performance from Jonas Anderson, and let's keep an eye on him for the rest of the year, because as he said, conservative setup this weekend, and he's going to be pushing forward now come the next Grand Prix. Great result to get to see Anderson on the podium with the 2 Abu Dhabi drivers.
So as we watch the winner coming in, Sean Torrente with Team Abu Dhabi, this was his 48th start, and today he picks up his 8th career victory. He's got 8 podiums on the air. He's got back-to-back wins here in Portugal. He was known as a driver, very aggressive early on in his career, and seemed to always win in the Middle East. Then all of a sudden things turned around, and last year he won 3 races. In 2018, captured the championship, consistent running. Only had 1 bad race, and that was in London. And he's had now 11 podiums in his last 17 finishes. And Sean Torrente, I have to say, is on a roll, my friend.
Yeah, I think he's calmed down a lot, mind Steve, hasn't he? You know, he's not making the mistakes that he used to make a number of years ago. And that really is down to maturity and experience. And you can see the way he is around the pits and that, you know. He's a lot more relaxed, and a very, very good result there for Torrente. A great result for Team Abu Dhabi. But, you know, when you look back and you see the victory team, oh boy. I mean, because there's a lot of competition between those 2 teams, because they're so close to each other in the Middle East. And a little bit of homework there for Team Victory going forward to our next Grand Prix, which is going to be in Evian in about a month's time.
As we watch the leader go around and the winner now, do a little victory donut action in front of this huge crowd here in Portimao. There's always big crowds. Sean Torrente is wearing his new helmet that he got designed over the winter, and as the man who won this race heads for the start pontoon and comes back in and the craning area. Tell you what, a guy that had a great day too, and we hadn't seen much of him all weekend long, was Alberto Camerado, the driver, the rookie, the defending Formula 2 world champion. He started dead last, Jonathan, and ended up coming up 11 spots more than anybody else. He finished up in the top 10, finished in 8th spot, ran a 46.49, which was his fast lap, and he pushed really hard, and he had a faster best lap than Sean Torrente. How about that?
Yeah, a blinding, and I think a guy that we're going to see more and more of. I'm sure that his father is going to be so proud of him to have, as you say, started last even and side his way through the field there to end up in 8th position overall, and like you said, put up the fastest lap, and very, very good result for that young driver, and that'll give him confidence going forward. The other thing is, talking about confidence, you know, it's happened to me in the past. You win races, you go into the next couple of races, you just seem to be able to carry that confidence with you. And it appears that, you know, Sean Torrente is doing exactly that now, isn't he? He's very calm, cool and collected. He knows what he's got to do. He appreciates that pole position is so important, and he's getting that pole position. And now it's up to the other drivers to really push as hard as they can in qualifying, because that may make the difference going forward for the rest of the season.
Sean Torrente talking to his ex-teammate of a year ago, Eric Stark, who ended up finishing 2nd in this championship a year ago. There you see Eric walking away in the red suit, and he ended up struggling in 9th position. As you said, he probably did have a bit of a trim problem, because he really lost control of the boat. He lost the speed. He had jumped up a few positions. He started 7th and worked his way up to 5th, and then he started backing down. He went all the way back down to 9th. So tell you what, Eric Stark, always a challenge, and we'll see how he does at the next round. We head to the Grand Prix of France. It'll be coming your way on the first week of July. And there's the very animated Sean Torrente, known as the Alien, went to Florida State University, a big school in Florida. And he's, tell you what, he does a lot of, when he's at home, he's got a great marine business. And at the same time, he's got a nice poker run, big catamaran boat that he drives around, goes around the Florida Keys, and yeah, he's got his lovely daughter who is very serious about horse dressage and jumping and so forth, and she's dedicated, and the whole family's behind her in their
they're a very
realm.
they're a very close family, Steve, aren't they? And you can see they're talking to the team owner, Guido Cappellini, and explaining one or two things. But they didn't seem to put a foot wrong, did they? I mean, it was all on the start. Again, pole position is worth so much at every Grand Prix, and I think some of these other teams, they've been closer this weekend than we have seen them for quite some time. I mean, it was a split second in qualifying, and I think they're going to have to just push a little bit harder going forward if they want to be able to, get ahead of Team Abu Dhabi during the season.
All right, as we take a look at Sean Torrente going through a quick session, a post-race talk, let's take a look at the provisional results here that we had today on this 48-lap Odyssey at the 18th Grand Prix of Portugal. Sean Torrente winning by 1.38 seconds. Jonas Anderson did well as he came within less than 3.5 seconds, challenging Torrente. And Peter Morin, good run for him. Well, he was just a second behind in that battle for the last place to get on the podium. Reed Stromoy in 5th. And good shot by Bartek Marzarak. He went from 9th all the way up into the 6th spot. And Ahmed Al-Hamli today, he went from 17th all the way up to 7th. So he gained 10 positions. And then the man behind him, Alberto Camerado, also moved up 11 spots. And he had a great run for the first time, even though he was lapped through the field. Eric Stark in the 9th place position, struggling with handling. Sami Celio in the 10th spot. Duarte Benavente just missing out on some championship points in front of his hometown crowd, the local boy here. Cedric Deguin finishing in that 12th place position. And the other rookie, as we see Barrage Robert in that 13th position. And Philip Rams dropping out early, and Francesco Catando with his teammate Greg Foster disappearing early in the race. What a shame for the Blaze Performance team. And now with the standings coming up, here is the team championship standings. Team Abu Dhabi starts off in a big way. They're the defending team champions, and 35 points today, a perfect day, 1 and 2. Team Amaravati in the 12th spot, tied with the Emirates team. And CTIC China, with their 2 drivers, picks up 9 points. The Victory team with 4. The Atlantic team with 3 points, courtesy of the rookie, Alberto Camerado. Then the Maverick team and the Sharjah team and the Blaze Performance, as we mentioned, both boats going out early, as Francesco Catando lasted 5 laps. And Greg Foster, the veteran rookie from California, got in just 16 laps. He was making his way up a bit, and then he had problems, and then he came to a stop. It's been a wonderful day, a wonderful weekend here, and the race today was totally different weather-wise than what we've seen in the last couple of days. Let's take a look at the highlights as we bring you back to the 48-lap Odyssey of this 18th running of the Grand Prix of Portugal. And it's always fun coming here to the Algarve. And as the people work their way now down toward the podium, and they'll be having the podium celebration. Hundreds of people around ready to celebrate the win today. All right, let's take a look at the highlights here as we take a look back on what happened this afternoon. A 2.5-minute clip off the pole, and there's Sean Torrente side by side. He knew he was going to have to fight off a torrid battle with his teammate, Daniel Quimsey, who may be one of the best starters in the history of this sport. Torrente knew that if he was going to come up with a victory today, he had to have an honest start. He got that this afternoon, and off he went as they go around the first start pin, 600 meters down to the original turn. And Torrente on the inside was able to hold off the charge of his teammate, Thani, right there in his back pocket. Jonas Anderson getting a good start as he moved up, and Marit Stromoy pushing very hard. And there you see Torrente trying to get in clear water and pull away from the rest of the field. And look at the jousting, Jonathan, going in the back. As you could see that Marit Stromoy was very aggressive, and she was pushing the 2 French drivers all day long, side by side.
Yeah, great drive by Marit there. But Philippe Chiap, we saw that Chiap was running really strong, seemed to be making his way up the field as though Jonas Anderson almost loses control. My goodness, that was a close one, and Giat then moved up, and of course we saw Greg Foster pulling out, which was a great shame because we were hoping for great things from the Blaze team this weekend.
Yeah, they both went out, and between the two of them, they got 21 laps in as we watched the battle. Most of the afternoon was between Sean and Thani, his teammate, and then right behind them was this tremendous tussle that was going on here. Side by side, Peter Moran almost blew it over as you could see Marit Stromoy working her way around him, but that would not be the end of the lockup between those two as they fought side by side. And then as they came down, you could see that Philippe Schepp, the three-time world champion, dropping out of the race on the 28th lap. What a shame. He was right in the mix for the top 5, and then he disappeared. And then you could see Eric Stark having all sorts, looked like trim problems. He was having a problem controlling the boat, and he had to back off, got up to 5th, and then disappeared and slowly slid down to 9th place position.
Yeah, I think that, again, like you pointed out earlier, Steve, was down to the trim problem that he had, and then Moran then kept pushing as hard as he could. He was up in that 4th position, but couldn't seem to be making a lot more ground as we went back again to Sean Torrente with the clear water ahead. And this is where Thani almost was able to overtake him, Steve, as they closed down to the last couple of laps.
All right, side by side, the battling pair right there, but was let down to 0.4 of a second at one time as Jonas Andersson was waiting for anything up front to maybe happen in a negative way where he could jump and pounce his way up in toward the number 1 spot, but it didn't happen as Team Abu Dhabi were out there flying in formation all day long, and across the line, you can see the difference, 1.38 seconds and just 3 seconds between the top 3, and a solid effort by Team Abu Dhabi as their drivers once again, Jonathan, hit the top 2 on the podium.
But this time they didn't quite dominate, did they, Steve? It was great to see those other boats that were really pushing them all the way. So I think going forward into Evian, boy, we're in for a ding-dong battle.
It'll be exciting, and that race course, as you well know, is very treacherous and very exciting. You never know what you're going to get when you're on the big lake that separates Switzerland from France, Lac Le Mans or Lake Geneva, depending on where you live on that crucial lake in Central Europe. And I'll tell you, that'll be a great, great race. Again, that's the first week of July. That's our next round in this championship. Meanwhile, when you sit back and you think about it, the conclusion, any surprises today that stand out? Who are the winners and who are the losers, Jonathan? Let's take a look.
Yeah, well, Camerado, the young driver, Alberto Camerado, to me, I mean, you know, coming from right at the back of that field in his very, very first Grand Prix and finishing in 8th position, I think that is a sterling drive from that young driver. I think we're going to see a lot more of him. It was great to see the battle there between Jonas, Peter Moran and Marit Stromoy with hardly anything between them. And that bodes well, Steve, to the rest of the season because, you know, up until this year, the Abu Dhabi team seemed to have dominated. And this year, things are definitely a lot closer. And I think we're in for a ding-dong battle. Other drivers, Steve, I was hoping that the Blaze drivers would have had a lot better season because they looked really strong in practice, but unfortunately they had some kind of technical problem. So it's all to go for with and quite a few races to go this season again, Steve, and I think we're in for an exciting program of Formula One powerboat racing.
Yeah, you look in the bottom of the heap here today and look at the 16th, 17th, 18th, and 19th spots, and you got to wonder, Eric Eden, who is the second half of the Jonas Andersson based team and Team Amaravati. And tell you what, Eric ran a lot of laps in this morning's warm-up, and he got as far as 24 laps before he parked the boat. Alex Corella had everything come to an end on the 18th lap, and then, of course, the Blaze Performance guys, Catando and Greg Foster, 21 laps combined between the two, but they'll get it figured out, Jonathan. They'll get it back together, and they're going home. They're going to have their boats available in Milan, and you better believe that when they get to France, these two drivers will be ready to put on a show to the French crowd.
Yeah, for sure, because we do know that between now and Evian, all of the boats are going to be going back to base, so they'll be able to prepare everything, do a lot more testing, get everything a lot more dialed in, which some of these teams haven't had a chance to do, which makes me think that it's going to bode well for the rest of the season for some of these teams that were just barely behind Team Abu Dhabi this afternoon.
Tremendous crowds. It's always that way. The enthusiasm. These people come from all over the Algarve. multinationals that have come from England, that have come from France, that have come from Spain and Portugal to watch the excitement every year, as this is starting our third decade here. It's hard to believe, Jonathan. We've been coming here since 1999. And of course, the traditional storks in their nests, they love hanging out at these chimneys that are no longer being used, and they take full advantage of the height to protect their babies, as you see other people's out on a stroll here. Portimao is a city that's really evolving. It's really changing. It's not only a sailing capital, which is, you can see some of those lovely Beneteau boats sitting there, but it's also becoming a racing capital with the racetrack not too far here north of the city, a world-class race circuit that they use not only for testing, but also some tremendous professional racing as well.
Yeah, and it's nice. I've been talking to a lot of local people in the last week since we've been here, and tourism is definitely on the up and up here in Portugal again, Steve. They went through a fairly quiet spell for a number of years, but all of a sudden they said the hotels are full, the whole season is looking very strong, and that's a great thing for Portugal, you know. It's probably the capital of Europe for golfing, and that's a big thing. But like you say, going back to the racing side of it, we all enjoy coming here. The organisation is great, the circuit is fantastic, it's very unpredictable, there's always a wind blowing, and we've had some pretty rough races here over the year, and it's a great starter for the season this year.
Yeah, absolutely. As you look out at the Portuguese flag again, you're looking at the marina, which is just south of us in this location, and you can look down and see the marina that's also north and south. Actually, when I look at it, it's just the other way around. That's the north side, there's the south side. Now we're going farther north here, and the ceremony has begun, and there you see third place, veteran driver Jonas Andersson coming up, getting the accolades and holding up the Indian flag for Team Amaravati, his sponsor, and he finishes in third place. And for Jonas Andersson, for him, that is his 18th career podium in his 94 start. And here comes Daniel Quimsey as the driver from Abu Dhabi has made his way to the podium for the 37th time in his career and 134 starts. And he knows that he's got a great chance to win his first title this year. He proved a point, Jonathan, as he took on one of the quickest drivers in the world and came within 1.8 seconds, or 1.38 seconds of this man, the leader, as Sean Torrente now is working his way to the podium. Second year in a row for this man from Florida, Sean Torrente with Team Abu Dhabi, hugging his teammate. He's got great enthusiasm. And I'll tell you something, I know his wife at home, Flavia, is excited. His daughter, Isabella, they've got to be over the moon that their husband and father has worked his way to the top of the podium one more time here to start off 2019, and the way he started off 2018. And there's Guido Cappellini, who is the team manager. And this team last year won the team championship, and Guido Cappellini knows how to go to the top of the podium in Portugal. He won the race here in 99, 2000, 2001, 2003, 2003, and 4, and then 5 and 6. You get the idea. He won about every year in the first 5 or 6 races before Scott Gilman won a couple in the early 2000s. And Sean Torrente is 7th driver here to win here in Portugal. And now time for the national anthems.
É isso mesmo, venha essa grande salva de palmas.
And Sean Torrente now throwing the hat in the air.
Para entregar os troféus,
He and his teammate, with Guido Cappellini right in the middle.
Para o terceiro lugar,
Jonas Andersson off to the left.
Entrega Sr. Paulo Ferreira,
As
presidente
the
da
hundreds and
Federação
hundreds of
Portuguesa de
fans that
Mountain
have gathered around here in Portimao and enjoy the excitement and the tradition of, as we mentioned, in our third decade of coming here to one of the greatest races ever to earmark this 36-year history of the UAM Formula One World Championship, as Jonas Andersson gets not only the trophy but the wreath. As Jonas Andersson, who about 8 years ago almost quit the sport. He had run out of money, and he decided, you know, I'm going to maybe wrap this thing up. He said, I'm losing money. I need to work. And he came up with a stellar performance in St. Petersburg in Russia, got on the podium and decided, you know what, I'm going to give this one more try. Well, about 60 races later, he's still there. He's got 5 victories and 17, now 18 podiums in his career, and he's really come on strong. So Jonas Andersson is back at Thaniel Quimsy in his 18th season. And he, along with Ahmed Al-Hamli, who are cousins, actually started with, at the time, Scott Gilman, who was with the team. And Scott taught so much of the talent and took him out and worked with these two drivers. And now Thaniel Quimsy enjoying the fruits of not only what Scott did, but more importantly now what Guido Capellini has done to steer this team in the last 3-4 years into something special as they finish on another 1-2 finish here to start off the season here in 2019. Sean Torrente, who I've known since he was 13 years old, and he had 6 victories on the North American Formula One Tour before he took off and came over to the World Tour. And he started in small classes like the SST 45s, was a national champion 3 times there, set 4 world records. And he is one of these gifted drivers that you can see it when they're very young. They have something very special. And he's been lucky enough to continue on with a craft that he had to, first of all, fight his way back into the series after in 2015 he won the opener in Doha. And then the Qatar team disbanded, and Sean Torrente was out of a ride, and he was able to work and convince the victory team to go from just offshore to Formula One, and he joined them and then eventually moved along and came and joined Team Abu Dhabi, and that's where he is today. And Sean Torrente enjoying the fruits of victory with a very professional organization like Team Abu Dhabi with Guido Capellini in charge. So as the gifts and the laurels are being handed out, as the dignitaries stepping out on stage, there you see Nicolo de San Germano over to your second to your right in the wearing the blue shirt with the using the radio that's wrapped around his neck. Look at the tremendous crowds that show up, and the enthusiasm year after year. They always have a special time when native son Duarte Benavente makes it up onto the top 3. He didn't do it this year. He was there a few years ago, and for him it's always a special moment to get the accolades and the cheers from his hometown crowd. And now the professional photographers working their way out, trying to get the pictures for the worldwide audience and trying to turn the drivers around so they get a great backdrop of all these thousands of people who are situated on the front of the stage. And off they go now as the official ceremonies look like they are about ready to come to a close here as we wrap up the proceedings of this opening round of this championship. And the fans would just love to hear more from the drivers. And you could see the people out on a lovely sun-drenched day. The temperature got to be about as high as 22 centigrade with a bit of a wind today out of the south. It was really cold yesterday, but today we were able to take our light jackets off and out in the sunshine. It was really comfortable. Turned out to be a stellar afternoon here in Portimao, as again we look at the marina looking south toward, you can see all the tents off to the left, and that's part of the complex. It takes about 5 days to set up for the UAM Formula World Championship. Here's our boy Jonathan Jones with Sean Torrente. Jonathan? Well, maybe we won't get Jonathan yet. We're still trying to get Sean into position. And with our cameras and right off to the side of the stage here, and love to hear from Sean Torrente, our winner from Team Abu Dhabi in the state of Florida, as he picks up his 8th win of his career. Let's go down to Jonathan. You got the winner, Jonathan.
I'm here with Sean Torrente, the winner of the Portuguese Grand Prix. Sean, what sort of race was that and how difficult was it for you?
For me, it was one of the hardest races of my life. The first 20 laps was great, and then all of a sudden, the down trim would only work sometimes. I would have to go out to go down. I almost lost it a couple times, and Tani almost got me. I was just in survival mode, and Tani's a hard charger. I knew he was going to keep coming at me, but luckily I was able to hold on barely and get him home.
And how does this bode for the rest of the season for Team Abu Dhabi? Because last year was so great for you. Do you feel that you have the upper hand again this year or not?
Well, we just take it race by race, John. You know, we'll celebrate this today and tomorrow, and then we'll go right back to work and get ready for Evian. It's a whole nother weekend. It's a long season. Our goal is the championship. Our goal ain't one race win.
Okay, great result, Sean. Thank you very much, and good luck going forward for the rest of the season.
Thanks, John. All the best. Thanks, Abu Dhabi. The whole team's wonderful. Thank you, guys. And remember Anthony. That one's for Anthony.
Well, today has been a very historic day here on the 18th Grand Prix of Portugal as we celebrate our 36th anniversary season of the UAM Formula One World Championship. And for my colleague Jonathan Jones and all our tremendously talented international broadcast crew saying, whether it's been good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever in the world you may be at the moment, you've been watching the most exciting racing entertainment on water, the UAM Formula One H2O World Championship for powerboating. Now, don't forget to join us in 7 weeks' time on the 6th and 7th of July as we head off to lovely Evian in France on Lac Le Mans for the 3rd round of the championship. In the meanwhile, you can follow all the news by going to Facebook, our official website, here on www.f1h2o.com. So on a spectacular late afternoon here in the historic Portimão city of Portugal, I'm Steve Michael saying, go out and make it a great day. So long, everybody.